All right, next up under the effects menu, we've got amplitude modulation. Amplitude modulation functions pretty much like the vibrato function, except that instead of modulating or vibrating the frequencies, what we're doing here is that we're actually modulating the amplitudes, which is really the volume of your data. So you can achieve cool effects here, such as like like a Leslie effect from an organ and those types of effects. Let's take a look. All right, here we've got an audio file. Let's take a listen to a few seconds. Okay, go up here to the effects, amplitude modulation, and we're presented with this dialog box here. And basically, it allows us to adjust the amplitude modulation depending on the graph here. And we can, like all the graphs and everything we've seen inside SoundForge, you can move them around with the finger thing here, and you are able to add more points by clicking here anywhere on the line and adding more points, and then you can adjust that. And let's take a listen. Also have a bunch of presets in here as well too, with different shapes. So I've got like a hard square, sawtooth, sine curve. And what we're looking at here in terms of some of the choices, we've got the dry in and wet out, which obviously again is the mix between the unaffected signal and the affected signal. We've also got an amplitude in terms of the overall volume. And again, watch out, be careful with this one, because you got to watch out for the clipping. It's something you always got to look for. Something to understand real quick, and before I go look at some of the other features in here, is that when you're using a tool like this and you're using this pattern or this envelope in here to be able to modify your signal, it's important that the beginning point and the end point end up pretty much in the same horizontal area. If they don't, if this one's down here or up here or whatever, for whatever reason you've custom built it the way you want it, if they're not in the same exact spot or close to it, you could end up with a popping sound at the end of every cycle that it goes through the envelope. SoundForge gives you a tool here called Blend Graph Edges, which allows you to kind of modify and smooth that out. So if you're finding that you're getting some popping once you take a listen to your preview on the sound that you're working on, you may want to use this tool. The frequency here is the frequency of the application of the envelope. So way down here, it's going to be applied less frequently, and it's going to be kind of stretched more over time. Whereas here, this is when we get into sounding like a Leslie speaker. And depending on the speed of the rotation of the speaker, you can adjust this accordingly. Get some really funky stuff way up in here. Takes on all kinds of overtones and rings and stuff like that. But down in here you can, depending upon what speed you want, especially if you're working with like a solo instrument or something like that. Additionally, you've also got stereo pan. You can choose where you want the effect, and like right now I've got it panning from ear to ear. This is even more radically panning around in the stereo image, whereas down in here it's pretty much in the center and it's just kind of everywhere basically. And you also have a low pass, which basically trims off some of the high end. Again, this most of the time you don't want to do this because it messes with your sound so much, but in some cases it may be good, especially if you're trying to eliminate a pop or something and you still can't quite get it. You notice that there's a tempo sync thing down here that's not even available, and it's not available within SoundForge. It's primarily designed because this plugin can be used with other applications, and if you're using it with something that like an external keyboard or an external trigger device of some sort, you can actually sync the tempo to the effect in here, and it allows you to do that. But we don't have that capability here. So it's a pretty cool tool, and you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. It's got some interesting presets. Here's the wacky one. So And again, you can modify these and do whatever you want with them to your little heart's content.